It's time for Around the Ozarks Sports Scene, brought to you by Fast Break Sports, the largest selection of cards and card supplies in Southwest Missouri. Now here's your host, Scott Puryear.
Welcome into Around the Ozarks Sports Scene, episode 15. I'm Scott Puryear, your host. As always, a big thank you for listening and giving me about a half hour of your time this week to talk local and regional and area sports and whatnot there. And each week we start off with our What to Watch segment, kind of give you a little preview of what's coming up locally in the world of sports here in the Ozarks. And, of course, it'll be an idle Sunday for the Kansas City Chiefs for the first time in about a month. Big win for the Chiefs in Baltimore this past Sunday to secure another berth in the Super Bowl. So they've got a bye week coming up, and then they'll be added on February 11th out in Las Vegas. So Chiefs trying to capture another championship but get a little downtime to prepare for the big one there. The annual Missouri State Bears basketball roller coaster continues to its up and down nature. A week ago we were talking about how they should replace Dana Ford with Jay Spoonhour, and of course, as I said on the podcast, they went out and beat Drake in double overtime, one of the league favorites, to make me look completely stupid. And maybe they're getting on a little bit of a roll now because they had the win over Drake, then they turned around and won at Valparaiso over the weekend to pick up two more wins to get to 12-9. They've got a big road test Wednesday of this week at Southern Illinois. By the time this podcast comes out, we'll know the result of that. But it's a 14-7 Southern Illinois team. It's 10-3 at home, so a big test for the Bears. Missouri State will be back home on Saturday at Great Southern Bank Arena. They've got a 12-9 Belmont coming in. Belmont's 5-5 in the league. Bears are 4-6. Both teams trying to stay out of that play-in round at the Valley Tournament in early March. Hard to win 4 days in a row at the Valley to get that done. So that's the goal for all these teams, to get in that top 8, and the Bears still kind of hanging around there, and we'll see if they can get it done. Lady Bears, meanwhile, they picked up a split on their big road trip we talked about last weekend. They saw their 8-game winning streak snapped at Belmont on Friday, but bounced back with a good road win at a very solid Murray State on Sunday. Coach Beth Cunningham's Lady Bears are 13-5 overall. They're 7-2 in the Valley. Right on the doorstep of league leaders Belmont and Drake, who are a game ahead of them. Lady Bears have a light week this week, no game until Saturday when they are on the road at Southern Illinois. Then they got a couple biggies next week at home on Friday and Sunday of next week. They've got Belmont coming in on Friday, Murray State on Super Bowl Sunday. Again, two very important games for them and their status in the Valley standings there. And congratulations to all the inductees in the Missouri Sports Hall of Fame. Their annual winter enshrinement banquet is this Sunday out at the Ozark Empire Fairgrounds. It's a 1 o'clock start. I know there are tickets still available for that. By the way, our special guest today is Byron Shive, the executive director of the Missouri Sports Hall of Fame. So we'll stay around, and you'll hear a lot about the event and all the events that they put on as a great staff out there. But the enshrinement banquet, a lot of local names in this one. A lot of people I've covered in my career, but Anthony Tolliver, the former Kickapoo and Creighton standout, had a long NBA career, just a good person, too, does a lot of great stuff for the community. Anthony will be going in. Justin Britt, the former Lebanon high school football standout in Mizzou, who had a great NFL career. Lucas Harrell from Major League Baseball, played at Glendale and Ozark. The Kickapoo high school basketball teams from 2003-06. Trainer Jim Rayner the trainer. Just a great list of people going in at the ceremony on this Sunday out at the Ozark Empire Fairgrounds. So congratulations to all the inductees there. Our special guest on this week's podcast is the executive director of the Missouri Sports Hall of Fame, Byron Shive. Byron, thanks for joining me.
Hey, I appreciate it, Scott. I hope all is well. It's good to talk to you again.
Appreciate that. You bet. Always a treat to catch up and find out what's going on with the Hall of Fame, and every year that means lots of stuff. And, of course, this is your big week for your winter enshrinement ceremony and banquet this Sunday out at the Ozarks Empire Fairground. Not an easy week for you at all, is that the last-minute details and getting everything set up?
Just a few things, yeah. You got meal counts and tables and lighting and everything else in addition to last-minute ticket sales and hotel rooms and everything else. But it's organized chaos, I guess would be one way to put it. But we're excited and look forward to the event on Sunday.
I was messing around with this website, newspapers.com, because I've seen other guys talk about how many games they've broadcast and things like that, and I think I had like 6,400 stories over 21 years, and I thought, oh wow, that seems like a lot, but that's basically writing one story a day for the most part. But have you ever thought about how many events you guys handle in a year, and how many you'll handle over the span of your career coming up?
I haven't thought about that yet. I guess I'm still too early. Now, this year itself marks a big change in focus for the Hall of Fame. I came into this position with a stated goal of broadening the statewide footprint of the Missouri Sports Hall of Fame, and so starting this year, we actually will host 4 enshrinement ceremonies across the state annually. That, of course, will be in Springfield the week before the Super Bowl in its annual customary spots. And then we'll be in Kansas City every year in April or May, Columbia in the fall, and then right before Thanksgiving in St. Louis every year. And then we will actually have a Hall of Fame luncheon that will kind of rotate around the state. We'll be in Cape Girardeau this year, and that'll probably go to like Kirksville and St. Joseph and other places. But it's an opportunity for us to kind of cover all, quote-unquote, 4 corners of the state, and there's so many people out there that are worthy of induction, and it's a way for us to get out and be the state's Hall of Fame.
Because you didn't have enough going on, too, right? You're just sitting around at the
Exactly.
Does this allow you to more regionalize a little bit with what you're doing in those areas?
Yeah, like I said, we've done a whole lot here in Southwest Missouri. With this new kind of statewide focus, we will not be hosting the luncheons that have been kind of a part of the schedule for years here in Springfield.
Okay.
We have replaced those 5 luncheons with one standalone event, the Champions Gala, that we just announced about a week or so ago. Will be on April the 4th. University Plaza. We're excited that Peyton Manning will be coming to Springfield to be a part of that first annual Champions Gala. So that's a big deal for us as well. So
the statewide events are going to replace the luncheons that you had done pretty much seasonally and throughout the years, the last couple of years, right?
That is correct. And like I was saying, there's a lot of individuals and teams and others across the state that perhaps couldn't make it to Springfield to be inducted, but are worthy of induction. So this will give us a chance to kind of take the show on the road, so to speak, and actually go out and host these. If we're going to be the state's Sports Hall of Fame, we feel like we need to be in all parts of the state, and this is a starting point for us. So,
absolutely. And let's talk about your path to this role. I know that, sure. Am I correct, you're a practicing lawyer by trade?
I still am a licensed attorney, but I don't practice law much anymore. I may do an estate plan here and there, but essentially I went to law school, got out of law school in 2007, worked for a law firm in Bolivar for a couple of years, and then had my own solo law practice for about 10 years before coming to the Hall of Fame. And you mentioned newspapers.com. I don't know if you recall when we first met, you actually I started a magazine called Ozarks Preps Illustrated that covered high school sports in Southwest Missouri, and you actually wrote the end zone column for about half of those issues. So that was our first introduction.
Absolutely, yeah, and that was a lot of fun. And any way that I could keep my hands in the writing end of it, I've tried, and it's you can't get it out of your blood. You know that once you start writing, it never goes away, right?
And I can still remember 6th grade football. I'd play in the game and go home, and I'd memorize the stats, and I'd go home and write up the game. I actually was going through a bunch of old stuff recently and came across that notebook. So it does stay with you. It's something I've been wanting to do forever. It's something sports related. So.
Absolutely. Well, and of course, people know by now that the man you replaced, who did such a great job for almost 3 decades, Gerald Andrews, is your father-in-law, and I'm just curious, at what point did this first ever come up as a possibility, not just him retiring, but you stepping in, and what was your initial thought?
My initial thought, I can answer that really, it was absolutely not. No way. No way. You don't want to be the guy that replaces the guy, but I remember I was organizing some high school basketball showcase events, and the Hall of Fame had stepped in and kind of put their name on them there for a while. The first one was in St. Joseph about 6 years ago, and we were driving back. Gerald had actually went up there with me for the day. We were driving back. It was snowing, and I remember him asking if I ever had given any thought to possibly running the Hall of Fame one day, and I was like, absolutely not. So that was the first time. It took a few times, but ultimately, just the love of sports won out. I mean, certainly giant shoes to fill, and Gerald kind of put this place on the map. I actually did some research recently, researching the other state sports Hall of Fame, and we've often said that Missouri has the best one, and after that research, I think it's more objective than it is subjective. I mean, we do so much more than other states do with regard to the state sports history, and Gerald certainly was the one that kind of set that plan in motion. So,
well, absolutely. And we always joke when I was doing radio with Ned on the number of pro-ams before the Price Cutter Charity Championship, and it would not have surprised me if Gerald had showed up in Marshfield and it was actually in Branson that day or something to try to keep it all straight. But just phenomenal job on the fundraising end of things. And I know that he gave you a nice little 18-month, basically an internship or tutelage to learn the job underneath him. Do you guys still talk frequently? Do you pick up the phone and call him, hey, how do you do this, or what are your thoughts?
I actually just asked him a question 2 days ago about something, but we eat lunch together still, every Sunday after church, and so it's not like I don't see him. He was my mentor even before coming to the Hall of Fame, professionally speaking, and so he's played a big role in my life, not just married to his daughter, but just advice even before coming to the Hall of Fame. So definitely still lean on him. That being said, he is retired, and so I try not to bother him unless it's important. And, he built it, and it's kind of like just keeping the train on the tracks. We've certainly looked into, and he'll tell you this. He said this in multiple meetings over that transition period. But time for some new ideas. We're trying to keep doing what was done, but trying to see if there's a way to do it better. So we're just trying to kind of improve where we can. But that 18 months was, I can't imagine anybody taking over this position without that transition. Working here, going through. You mentioned the calendar. I had participated in some of the events, but I had no idea how busy they really were. And so just getting a whole full year's calendar and then even more so than that. So it was very beneficial. So,
and that was kind of my next question was, were you a regular at some of the events? But, when you go, I mean, like I go, I'm there to get a meal and be entertained. I'm not paying attention to, okay, here's the program order and here's how long, all the little things that go into it. And, of course, Gerald became famous for the house music at the Hall of Fame ceremonies, when somebody was going maybe a little too long, cue up the house music. Have you been a little less active with that, or is that still something you feel like I got to do that?
Well, we certainly the music still plays at times. I have no control over when it starts, but it is certainly still incorporated. To be a little house secret, for the first time ever going on this Sunday, there will actually be a timer behind the podium. So when people are up there speaking, it's a little secret that others may not know, but for the first time ever, we'll actually have a little clock there ticking. So each of the inductees, they've been notified. They've got 3 minutes. And honestly, we would love to let people speak as long as they want to, but we're also trying to respect people's time and get them out of there in a timely manner. It's already a long afternoon, and we're doing everything we can to try and shorten it. And I think even being able to go to these other places across the state, it's not necessarily to induct as many as we have, and so the fewer inductees is less time. So we're looking at ways to make the event better, make it shorter. We want people to be entertained, but not leaving there yawning because they were there for too long. So it's we're always looking at ways to improve it, but definitely the music will still play if needed.
One of my favorite memories of that, I spent 11 years with Steve Hesser over at Drury and got to see a lot of stuff in practice and games and all that. And at his induction recently, the music started and he kind of glanced off and gave that Hesser look. and I'd see that so many times. An official, a referee had seen that and stuff. But, I mean, you got to do it or else somebody, I just think back to the Tournament of Champions luncheons they used to have and the legendary Bud Lathrop from Raytown South. Yeah. We joked about it a couple weeks ago on the podcast with those guys that, they were supposed to go maybe 10 minutes, talk about their program, and Bud went for 45. And there's a point where it becomes uncomfortable for people at that point. But you guys do a great job of policing that now. And I did notice looking up some research on the actual Missouri Sports Hall of Fame that temporarily closed right now for some renovation. Yeah. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, so we got a new roof a couple years ago. Of course, the big hailstorm and all that stuff, but we got a new roof, and in the process of doing that, they found some damage, some water damage. Got that, approved from the insurance, fixed that, and then the course of the second repairs, they discovered some additional damage, and so it was kind of decided, well, let's just figure out, it's been 30-some years, is it time? If you've been to the museum, there's some cool stuff to look at, but, once you've seen it, you've kind of seen it, and there's no reason to come back. And so we are actually right now in the middle of a feasibility study, just trying to see what we can and can't do, but a very aggressive renovation, revitalization, basically from one end of the building to the other, to see what I envision. I mean, if my brain, like I said, I'm a sports fan. I envision a sports fan's playground. I envision a place where, you can come in, there's technology, there's simulators, there's interactives, touchscreens, all of the stuff that the generation coming up wants to see, but also memorabilia to go with it. We are tasked with preserving Missouri sports history, but also inspiring future generations. And so I want, fathers and sons and families and school groups and whatnot to come here and have a blast and learn about Missouri sports history, but not even realize they're learning because they're having so much fun. But more importantly, when they leave, they want to come back the next week again. But I'm talking things like, recreating Payne Stewart's putt on number 18 at Pinehurst number 2, where you can come here to the Missouri Sports Hall of Fame. If you want to put on the knickers, you can, but you actually, roll that same putt, see if you make it. If you make it, the crowd cheers. If you miss it, they groan. Simulator where you are transported and you're at the 50-yard line of Arrowhead Stadium, and then all of a sudden you're at center ice when the puck's dropping for the Blues game. Stuff like that. Just videos and historical stuff. Just that's what I'm envisioning, and so we're kind of in the early stages of seeing if can we do it, and if so, then hopefully we'll get put that ball in motion. But it is closed temporarily. It's not unsafe, but it's more of a we're just kind of in that stage of seeing what we can do.
Let's stay out of their way type deal too, right? For the most part, yeah. Yeah. You induct so many, and you have for many, many years. I've got to think that you guys are kind of stuffed to the gills with your current setup out there too, because, I mean, you mentioned it, sports fans, but the legacies, I mean, grandkids coming out to see Grandpa's name and things like that is so important. And is there a space crunch because of the people you've recognized, and is that something you're addressing?
Yeah, and that's part of it, and that's something we actually had addressed right before we closed. Is in the past, you get inducted, your name goes on a little plaque on the wall, and so the walls are just filled with wooden. I mean, it all looks the same because it's just plaques everywhere. And so one of the things that we actually had done right before we closed is we've got a kiosk that it's a touchscreen kiosk where you can search up. If you come in and Grandpa's in the Hall of Fame, you can search his name, and it's going to pull up his bio and photos for the newer inductees for the last 15 years or so. Their video will play, that the introductory video is on there, and so that is one way that we've better use of space, so to speak, so that we can take those plaques off the walls and start using that for. But that happened right before we closed, and so it hasn't really been seen by the public yet. But that is one thing that we were excited about. But that's the type of technology, the type of that's going to save a ton of space just by putting all of that in a database that you can search with the touch of a screen, as opposed to having to walk through the museum and find the right plaque on the wall that has your grandpa or other inductees' name. But,
absolutely,
that's certainly one way to address it.
Gerald, and this is a credit to all great leaders out there, that they surround themselves with great people. I can think back to all the assistants that your father-in-law has had and right down through the entire staff. That's something you've inherited, and I'm sure you want to continue to build on as well, correct?
Absolutely, and that's what has made the transition, not just having Gerald for the 18 months, but there's a core group. Of course, Marty Willitson was here when I started. He actually retired before Gerald did. He's down in North Carolina chasing the grandkids. But there are three others, Kerry Norris, Taylor Frederick, and Kerry Puryear, have been here for 10-plus years each, and they were very instrumental in stepping right in. They actually have been beyond helpful. They know the ropes. They're also excited about the changes and some things that we're doing and that they may have wanted to do that weren't able to yet. And so that they've been extremely helpful. And then on top of that, we've just added to the staff with some other staff members that we've added since I started. And so we're building a team, and we love it. And they're hardworking. We have a lot of fun, but they may be small in number, but they accomplish quite a bit.
Of course, we talked about the banquets and the actual Hall of Fame itself, but so many other events, the charity golf tournaments, all the Pro-Ams before the Price Cutter Charity Championship, which your office runs each year along in conjunction with the PGA Tour and Korn Ferry Tour, and then also, but the basketball classics and all those special events. You talked about wanting to expand the footprint. Have you got ideas in those areas too? So maybe some new stuff you're cooking up as well?
Yeah, we met as a staff in August, right after the Stan Musial Hall of Fame Championship. We met for 4 days to plan this year's schedule, the 24 schedule. And so, the earlier you plan, the more likely you are to get what you want. But we discussed a lot of things. I mean, obviously, we're doing the basketball. We just were up at SBU for the Hall of Fame Classic. We'll actually have two of them. The Saturday after the enshrinement will be in St. Joseph in Columbia, so that's a way to get across the state. We're trying to see, can we do a volleyball tournament? Can we do a soccer tournament? Those type things. Pickleball has been brought up. Disc golf. I mean, just a lot of different things, just thinking outside the box. And, we're not necessarily trying to add as many events to the calendar as possible. We're trying to do, I think our motto for the week was, quantity over quality, or actually quality over quantity. It's not about how many events can we put on the calendar, but how many events can we do really well. And so that's kind of like, for example, the Champions Gala replacing that single event, replacing 5 events. And so, we're constantly looking to see what can we do and how can we do it better. But you mentioned the Pro-Ams. That's a funny thing. We're one of 26 Korn Ferry Tour events. They all have a Wednesday Pro-Am, which would be our Price Cutter Pro-Am. Mm-hmm. Some of them have a Monday Pro-Am. We, of course, have 11 different playing opportunities. And so it's kind of a big joke when we go to the PGA Tour meetings each year that they don't understand how that we can do that many golf tournaments. And the other thing is the other 25 tournaments have a year-round, they're devoted year-round to their tournament. And I'm not not in any way diminishing it, but it's kind of the Hall of Fame side hustle to put on this big professional golf tournament. And so we'll get through enshrinement, and of course we have other events on the calendar, but we'll start working on Price Cutter in conjunction with the Hall of Fame events as soon as the enshrinement's over.
Let's talk about the Champions Gala, the new event coming up April 4th at University Plaza. I was a board member for Champions Community Kids for about a decade or so. Great organization, Todd Edwards, Jeff Collins, and the work they do, and Special Olympics. Talk about the concept of it, how it will work, and how it came to mind. Okay,
so, you mentioned Champions Community Kids. That brings to mind this will be the first year for the Hall of Fame's charitable initiative. Of course, on the Price Cutter side of things, we're excited each year to give away as much money as we can to the charities. And we were wanting to figure out a way on the Hall of Fame side. I mean, even though we are ourselves technically a charity, a 501c3, we've been blessed over the years and to make money each year. And so we're kind of, to whom much is given, much is required type of mindset of how can we give back. And so we came up with a charitable initiative for 24. We will have a statewide charity partner, Special Olympics Missouri. They will benefit from all 5 of our main events. That's the 4 enshrinements plus the Champions Gala, and they will be a part of each one of those events. And by a part, I mean they'll have a video. They'll be able to recognize their athletes and volunteers. And at the end of the year, Special Olympics Missouri will receive a check from the Hall of Fame based on those 5 events. And so that's the statewide charity partner. And then at each of those 5 local events, we will have a sports-related local charity that will also benefit from that individual event. For example, the enshrinement on Sunday, the Ozarks Regional YMCA will be our benefiting charity. And you mentioned Champions Committed to Kids. What a natural fit with the first Champions Gala. They have all the excellent work that they do, pairing up kids with teams, and they can still be a part of a team concept, and so they're very, very excited about benefiting from this event. But essentially, we will present Champions Committed to Kids. We'll have a video; they'll be recognized, kind of a focus put on their mission and what they're trying to do, and they will actually receive a check from the Hall of Fame at the Champions Gala as our partner charity, and so we're very excited about that. Charitable initiative for this year as well. But
what a wonderful concept! And how in the world did you land Peyton Manning? Because I'm always been a huge Peyton Manning fan. I mean, even to this day, Monday Night Football, I'm not watching the regular telecast. I'm watching Peyton and Eli. How did that happen?
Well, it's I guess it's a matter of So Carl Peterson was the longtime president of the Kansas City Chiefs. He's a very good friend of the Hall of Fame. He put us in touch with Tom Condon, who actually played for the Chiefs back in the 70s, 80s, I believe it was.
Sure.
He's a super agent these days, represented Peyton Manning and several other big-name quarterbacks, lives in the St. Louis area. We got in touch with him, and he put us in touch with Peyton after he retired, has a marketing agency, basically, and so we got in touch with them, and it basically, it's who do you know that knows the person that has the right number kind of thing. So we got in touch with them, and it's just a matter of working things out from that point. And I'll be honest with you, it was several months. We have not spoken to Peyton yet, but his agents, his marketing agents, as you might imagine, he's very protective of his name, image, and likeness, and so we had to dot a lot of I's and cross a lot of T's to get to the point of announcing. But now that we have, we're very excited to have him come to Springfield. Anyone that's watched him on TV knows he's entertaining, he's funny, great sense of humor. I'm from Indianapolis originally, so he's kind of my sports hero, and I know the work he's done in the community. Matter of fact, there's a hospital in Indianapolis, a children's hospital with his name on it. So it does a lot of work with charities, and just we're very excited to bring him in and entertain everybody for a while. So
absolutely, what a great get that is. And of course, we touched on it earlier, but this week is your big annual winter enshrinement banquet this Sunday out at the Ozark Empire Fairgrounds. The class of 2024, a lot of names I covered back in the day, which excites me, with Anthony Tolliver, the former Kickapoo standout, and Justin Britt from Lebanon that played at Mizzou in the NFL, Lucas Harrell, Tom Ladd, Steve Boyce, and the Kickapoo boys basketball dynasty from 03 to 06. So a very locally oriented, and that's always a good way to get people out, isn't it?
Absolutely, and you certainly, as sports fans, you love the big names, but from a financial perspective, it is the local names that sell tickets. Obviously we have to pay for it somehow, and we love to bring in the big names, but it was a unique year in that we have 3 local products that played in the NFL, the NBA, Major League Baseball, in one of the names you mentioned, and so that's a huge draw. And then you start adding in, and we'll never forget we were up in St. Louis for the enshrinement this past year, and Bernie Miklasz was being inducted. He's very big in sports radio up there in St. Louis. He gave an outstanding speech basically talking about how this Hall of Fame is not – it's the way he put it was it's not just for the Major League Baseball players and the NFL players. This is the People's Hall of Fame, meaning that if you keep reading down the list, you've got these other names that perhaps wouldn't be inducted in another state's sports Hall of Fame, but here in Missouri, there's a spot for them. The people like Scott Sifferman, who's one of the top cyclists in the country, Tammy Williams from tiny Osceola, Missouri, who went on to be an All-American at Northwestern in softball, played for the Olympic team. There's a place for those individuals as well that are worthy, and that's one of the things that excites us, is that it's not just the big names, but we're able to induct the coaches from the small town and others that have accomplished big things. Jim Raynor, who is one of the top sports physicians in the entire state, and just the number of careers that he's helped along just with the work that he's done. So we're very excited about the class. Obviously, we love the names at the top, so to speak, the headliners, and the fact that they're local, but it's a great class from top to bottom with a lot of different worthy individuals and teams.
Yeah, Jim needs to go in as Rainer the trainer, so everybody will know right off the bat. That's all I've known him as. And Bernie Miklas, great guy. When I went up and covered the Rams when they came back to St. Louis,
yes.
Back in about 80 or 95, 96, in that era, Bernie was great about taking a Springfield newspaper guy and just making him feel comfortable up there. And that's kind of the mentorship that a lot of these coaches have done with young coaches and the media and all across the board, which is what makes our area so great there. But you do still have some tickets available, correct? That
is correct. Anybody that would like a ticket, $150 for each, and you can call the Hall of Fame at 889-3100. We'll certainly get you taken care of. We'll have a nice meal. We'll start we'll be a reception from noon to 1 at the Ozark Empire Fairgrounds. Lunch will, if you haven't started eating by 1, we'll start at 1 o'clock with the meal, and the program will start shortly thereafter, and we'll start the day and have a fun afternoon on Sunday.
Very good. Byron, I appreciate your time. Let's do it again, okay?
Hey, I appreciate it, Scott. It's good to hear from you, and I appreciate all that you've done and continue to do.
Thank you. Appreciate it. We wrap up Around the Ozark sports scene each week with Scott's thoughts, my little ramblings and musings about the sports world and things that pop into this scary little head of mine from time to time. I start off with never, ever bet against Patrick Mahomes in the NFL playoffs. I've been guilty of this some. There were NFL experts that were on all the pre-game shows all week last week. Thought it'd be tough for them to win at Baltimore. Thought it'd be tough the week before for them to win at Buffalo. Had an up-and-coming Miami at Arrowhead the week before that. Patrick Mahomes 3-0 in the playoffs and headed back to the Super Bowl. Don't bet against this guy, ever. When your first 2 NFL teams put you on a fake injury list, that's pretty much a sign that you're a problem. Goodbye and good riddance, Kadarius Toney. We hardly knew ye. Let's stop with the Taylor Swift bashing. She's a girlfriend showing up to support her man. She's an international music star. To think the networks are not going to show her and please the Swifties and all the non-football fans out there and draw in even more viewers like them who don't know a touchdown from a first down at every opportunity, you're only kidding yourselves if you think that's not going to happen. It's about ratings, and she's helping in that regard. And do you really think she's craving this attention and saying, show me, show me? No. Had a chance over the last weekend to see the Nixa Invitational High School Basketball Tournament and 2 freshmen who you're going to hear a lot about the next 3 years. Logan Rogersville, Chase Branham, Nix's Adam McKnight, both of them really stepped up for their teams and showed as freshmen that they're capable of carrying loads for their varsity teams right now in their first year of high school ball. Neither one of them plays at all like your typical freshman, just trying to feel their way around the game at the varsity level that first year. They're also longtime summer basketball teammates on the travel program circuit, but they look the part of upperclassmen with their aggressiveness, their confidence, every time they take the floor. It's going to be fun to watch their development, and you'll likely hear a lot about McKnight on the gridiron as well, because he's likely Nix's football quarterback the next 3 years for that outstanding program under John Perry. Rest assured, some of those college programs coming in to watch Jackson Cantwell, the number 1 offensive line recruit in the class of 2026 at Nixa nationwide, will also be taking notice of a 6'3" kid playing quarterback at Nixa named Adam McKnight. So get out and see both those guys when you can, because you're going to hear a lot about them over the next few years. Big thank you to our sponsor, Fast Break Sports. Wanted to mention to be sure and stop by their store at 3109 South Campbell. They have a drawing for a framed autographed Rashee Rice Kansas City Chiefs jersey that they will be giving away on Super Bowl Sunday at 5 p.m. So go visit Fast Break Sports, sign up. There's no purchase necessary. You don't have to be present to win. Thank you to our great sponsor, Fast Break Sports. Go get your chance at a Rashee Rice jersey. That thing is going to be worth quite a bit down the road. As always, the best way to listen to us is download the Around the Ozarks app. You'll find all the great podcasts and entertainment there on the app. A great way to listen to us regularly, just with one push of a button. Go in and find your favorite podcast or podcasts, and you can listen to and keep up there as well. That's going to do it for this week's edition. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week on Around the Ozarks Sports.